Hello and welcome back with another character, Datafile. Today we're going to talk about Commander Data from Star Trek The Next Generation. Data is one of the most beloved characters from the Star Trek franchise. He has been designed by Dr. Soong in the Omicron Theater planet, along with a bunch of other prototype androids, most notably B4 and Lore. Lore was better known as Data's evil brother from The Next Generation, and B4 was really a prototype for both android from Star Trek Nemesis. Data has been found in 2338, shortly after the colony in Omicron Theta has been destroyed by the crystalline entity. His life begins when the crew of the USS Tripoli actually found him. He later on joins Starfleet, where he gains actually his command rank and his education. Although he considered as an android, he was always aware of his special side, that some people might call it a soul or the essence of life. In his early years on the Enterprise, Data faced with a really difficult dilemma, and he actually was considering to leaving Starfleet because a commander named Bruce Maddox was actually wanted to do some cybernetic experiments on him. This eventually led to a hearing where the crew of the Enterprise actually fought for the freedom of the android, and essentially, thanks to Captain Picard, he was able to convince the judges actually to accept Data as a sentient being. Despite the fact Data was recognized as an individual, as a sentient being, he ran into another problem when he attempted recreation. When he created Lal, his own daughter, the Starfleet Cybernetic Center was really interested about the project, and they wanted to actually take away Lal from Data, just simply to do experimental research on her and try to find out if they can replicate the process. Data gained freedom earlier, but in this case he been blocked away from practicing parenthood. Lal sadly passed away due to a fault of her positronic brain. That was one of the saddest moments in Data's life. As an android, he possessed a lot of mental and physical capabilities. He was almost indestructible. One of his most unique features was actually to imitate breathing, imitate pulse, and actually he was able to imitate aging, and also he was able to groan and synchronize his hair. We also know this secret from a conversation between him and Dr. Bashir from DS9, and actually that left a really interesting feeling in Data, because he being asked all the time like how fast he can calculate, how big is his memory bank, but having these more human questions from Dr. Bashir actually made him more human and also more personable, as Dr. Bashir said.
I must admit, Commander, I didn't think you'd be so personable.
He also introduced us for the first Android phone with a data plan.
It's for you.
No pun intended. Aside being an android, he was always fascinated about humans, and he wanted to learn more about humanity and become more of an individual, not just as an android. He had the curiosity of a child, but he had a terrible understanding of humor.
Was that funny? No.
But that eventually led to most ironic and most hilarious moments in The Next Generation. He also tried to learn how to sneeze. At one occasion he grew a beard, and he wanted to become more chatty, to do small talks in quiet and awkward silences. Later he got an emotional shift from Dr. Soong, although he had some difficult time to actually figure out which emotion comes with which reaction.
Because I have had little experience with emotion, I am unable to articulate the sensation.
Ooh. Well, it looks like he hates him.
Yes, that is it. I hate this.
When he was one of the most popular members of the crew of the Enterprise, he had many friendships across the crew. He had the most important friendship with Geordi LaForge. He considered Geordi as his best friend. Basically, the two person was always there for each other, and they actually spent an awful lot of time in a holodeck as well, replaying the Sherlock Holmes stories. Data usually played Sherlock Holmes, and Geordi accompanied him as Dr. Watson. Captain Picard and him had a really special connection, really special friendship as well. But Captain Picard was more of a father figure for Data. Basically, every time when Data had a difficult situation to deal with, he always went to Captain Picard, and he actually sought his wisdom and his advices to how to solve the situation or how to deal with the dilemma. That actually created a really good fusion between the two characters. A lot of brilliant speeches and brilliant conversation actually came out between the two characters that we actually got to know from The Next Generation. We could have actually related to those conversations and those dilemmas that actually Data was dealing with. And Captain Picard was always there as everyone's father figure actually. Basically, that relationship was more than a Kirk and Spock relationship. It was more deeper in a personal and more familiar level. We have to mention Tasha Yar as well as the first lady in Data's life. Obviously we all know Tasha Yar passed away. That actually left a really interesting feeling in Data's life, in Data's memory, that he actually carried on over his life. And obviously Tasha being the first woman in his Data life, that made her even more special to Data, and we all know what the first person in our life actually means, and you know what I'm talking about. The only person who really challenged Data in every level, it was Dr. Pulaski. Dr. Pulaski wasn't considered as the best member of the TNG crew. She only been there for the second season while Beverly Crusher was away in Starfleet Medical, but she was really surprised on the android when they first met.
You called me Data.
What's the difference?
One is my name, the other is not.
Data having a preference how to pronounce his own name, that actually made Dr. Pulaski interested about Data, and he actually wanted to push Data further in his own discovery of his own nature and his human nature. That actually made Data more ambitious to being a more human person. Data had many interests over the years. He really liked painting, he was interested in music, and he often played poker with the senior staff. Also, he spent a lot of time in the holodeck to actually recreate the Sherlock Holmes stories. Sadly, Data passed away in 2379 in the incident with Shinzan. In order to save the life of his crew and his friend Captain Picard, he beamed over to the ship and destroyed it before the Thalian radiation activated. He sacrificed over his family, left everyone in grief, but ironically in his final moment he became more human than anyone else in the course of the series. Data, played by the fantastic and extremely talented Brent Spiner. Spiner addressed in an interview he didn't really want to take the role of the android at the first time because he thought Data, being a really blank character, emotionless, and he's just an android, what he could actually do with the character. But eventually it turned out he made a really good choice because the character opened up a lot of possibilities, and actually he played multiple characters over the 7 years in The Next Generation. The writers and the directors really loved working with Brent Spiner, and even Jonathan Frakes said once, if Brent Spiner has an idea, you will be a fool to not to try it at least once, because he always delivers something good, he always brings something to the table. Although Brent Spiner played many other roles apart from Data, he always will be Data for the many of us. Obviously, over the 7 years of The Next Generation and in the 4th feature movie, we had a lot of really good moments, character moments with Data. Obviously, in this short video file I won't be able to give you all of the great moments from Data because we're obviously talking about 178 episodes and 4 feature movies, and if I would start to talk about all the memorable moments from Mr. Data, we could sit here till the morning then, and I'm pretty sure you would be like, I have to go to school or work or whatever. Instead of this, I'm gonna give you 4 episodes from The Next Generation that really gives the most personal level Data experience in my opinion. First of all, we have A Measure of a Man. That is a brilliant episode. It has really good character moments from all the characters, basically Guinan, Captain Picard, and Data obviously as being the focus point of the episode. We actually get to know in this episode how he actually becomes a sentient being. In theory, another interesting episode when we actually got introduced to Data's first love interest, romantic relationship. The Offspring obviously is an interesting and brilliant, beautiful episode when Data actually faces with parenting and the loss over his own daughter. And at last but not least, Brothers, when Data actually reunites with his father and with his evil brother Lore. That actually gives a really good background towards the character and a really good background behind the Soong family. So this 4 episode basically gives a really good core for the character himself. So if you watch these episodes, I'm not saying you will get the whole character himself, but at least you will get the basics from these episodes if you're really curious about Mr. Data. Data was more than just an android, and I know this brief character data file won't really justify the fact how brilliant person he was. And I strongly believe his childish curiosity, despite his lack of emotions, he made us feel. So that was today's character data file. Did you see what I just did there? Please let me know in the comment section below what do you think about the character, and obviously let me know what was your favorite Data moment from the course of the 7th season of TNG and from the 4th feature movie. As always, please don't forget to like and share the video, and don't forget to subscribe to receive all the geekiness every week. And until next time, live long and prosper.